So we have continued protests and growing unrest in different parts of the country, and I'm really going to focus in today on the political implications, particularly when we have just, about 8 weeks left until a presidential election that hinges significantly on the idea of, do we need another 4 years like the last four, or do we need something different? That's the context that we should be applying to the upcoming election. And so in Portland, Oregon, we saw a pro-Trump mob drive through the city. One person was shot dead. We've seen clashes involving mace spray and paintball guns. We saw trucks firing projectiles into crowds and driving into people. Here's a video of pickup trucks with Trump flags and American flags, pepper spraying people and driving into individuals. A union building was set on fire. Here's video of Trump people shooting paintballs and pepper spray at other individuals who were protesting, and just absolute, complete, and total chaos ensuing. And there's a couple different layers of this that we should really discuss. The first is, what are the realities and the facts about the protests themselves? And then the political impact, which I think is far more relevant, and actually it's something we can discuss in much more tangible terms, even though the political impact is more speculative than the facts on the ground. I would argue it's actually a much simpler and more straightforward conversation to have. So the first thing is, in terms of the realities, like what is happening in different cities. Cities are being filled up with Trump people and protesters who are protesting police brutality, Black Lives Matter protesters, etc. Donald Trump is insisting he needs to be reelected to stop the chaos in cities. That doesn't pass the sniff test, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, I think it makes sense for us to maybe get on the same page about what are the conversations that we should be having online, on social media, and which conversations should we probably skip. And a lot of the debates are over what portion of the unrest is coming from the left and what portion of the unrest is coming from the right. And I'll tell you, it's completely fraught to go down that road. And what I mean by that is the following. If the violence that we're seeing, not protesting is protected by the First Amendment, and the protesting is not the problem, although some people will tell you it is. If the violence was 95% Trump people and 5% Black Lives Matter, or if the violence was 95% Black Lives Matter and 5% Trump people, it really doesn't make a difference in terms of the political impact, and it's a debate that you will never be able to get agreement on, and people are going to be focusing only on that. The unfortunate reality is that more chaos and more violence helps Donald Trump. And I know that there are some people on the left who disagree with me on this. There are some people on the left who are insisting, wait a second, people will see violence under Donald Trump and they will blame Trump at least partially for the violence. It's counterintuitive. Trump is president now and there's chaos now. How does violence and unrest help Donald Trump? The narrative has been lost. And remember, half the country doesn't vote. And so a lot of this is, who do you get to go and vote? Okay. Now, in that context, chaos in the streets favors the person supported by the military gun types, regardless of whether it makes any sense. I hate that this is the reality. I really do. Trump seems to realize it. And later in the program, I'll talk to you about how Kellyanne Conway is admitting it. And the more chaos there is, either way, it's beneficial to Donald Trump unless we really turn the vote out. Now, again, when I've been tweeting about this, including over the weekend, people write to me and they say, David, you're wrong. People see violence under Trump's watch and it hurts him. I do not believe that that is correct. The chaos activates Trump's base. This idea of dangerous Democrat cities has been effective for activating Donald Trump's base. And again, the election will be influenced by people who change their minds, but it's mostly, check out my interview with Rachel Bidikofer, it's mostly going to be a reflection of who is activated and who chooses to go out and vote. The framing from Trump, of course, is that it's mostly violence by Black Lives Matter against white people, Trump supporters, whatever. The unfortunate reality is that that's the wrong area to be focusing the debate, because imagine that we get out there successfully the narrative that it's not mostly violence from Black Lives Matter, it's mostly violence from Trumpists. Well, then they'll just say, well, yeah, the Trumpists have to be out there because there's chaos in the streets. You saw it with Kyle Rittenhouse. Now there's the debate. Oh, well, Kyle Rittenhouse, he didn't bring the gun across state lines. Somebody gave him the gun in Wisconsin. Oh, well, Kyle Rittenhouse was filmed 2 weeks ago, sucker punching a girl. So when you start making the debate about that, you get lost in the weeds. And the unfortunate reality is that Trump benefits on this no matter what. I hate to say it because it activates certain people. It pushes certain buttons, for lack of a better term. If it's chaotic, people might be less likely to want to change horses midstream. If Trump stops the violence, he will take credit and get it from some of the people who would be predisposed to be open to that type of idea. If Trump sends in the troops, it activates his base. It's a real sort of Rorschach test or an ink blot of possibilities. And the next thing I want to talk about is Kellyanne Conway straight up admitting this, and also talking more about the dynamics of why this is beneficial to Donald Trump. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.